Hello, Andrew. Hello,
Hey,
the rest of the world. so this LinkedIn Live is in English, and with me I have Andrew Holland, all the way from the UK. And Andrew, first of all, should we just confirm that this is not a virtual background? You can actually climb that wall behind
no,
you.
this is a beautiful podcasting room. It's lovely. It's in our building, and they've gone to a lot of trouble to put it together. It's absolutely fantastic.
That's great. That's great. Well, I mean, great to meet you. We've had an online relationship for quite some years, and finally we met up at Brighton SEO a couple of weeks ago. And it was the day before you were going to talk at the main stage. I was only there for one day, and as this is a very selfish show, I just saw your slides and I thought, okay, I have to invite you in because there is so many interesting perspectives in this talk, and thought leaders in SEO. There are not so many of them, so I thought this could also be something which was super interesting for the rest of you attending today. So perhaps Andrew, maybe just some words about yourself and where you are, why you're sitting in this meeting room today.
For those who don't know me, my name is Andrew Holland. I'm the director of SEO at a digital PR and SEO agency called JABH, and we work with consumer brands generally. And we've been around for 10 years really. So, and I've been here for about 6 months now, and my job is to grow the SEO processes and departments. And we're based in Manchester, but we are hybrid remote. But I'm in the Manchester building today. So we've got offices in Manchester and London now. So we are growing, and we've had a new starter today. So it's been a busy day already, and I'm looking forward to sharing some viewpoints with everyone today that you may or may not like. And I might have to put my glasses on because I can't see the little the messages popping up. I need to read them in a second. But so
Yeah.
yeah, me and Christopher have known each other for a while. I love how he says it was an online relationship. He makes out we've been dating. We didn't meet on Tinder. So we've known each other because we joined a premium course, which was Brian Dean's SEO That Works course, and used to get access to a very premium select group of people. And that group's still going, but it's a little bit changed. And basically, what I would say is that we've come along the same path in our SEO journey, and it's great to be able to connect with Christopher and meet him for real in Brighton last week. And we've got a bit of a mini presentation for you today that covers some of what we've covered in Brighton, and then I'm going to talk about the rest of it, and then you'll be able to grab the rest of my slides somewhere else. But yeah, hey, great to be here. I'm going to put the glasses on now so you'll see what
Great.
people are saying about me.
Yeah. And I mean, these kind of conversations can be anything between half an hour and 1 hour. And I think the important output that you should get out of it, everybody listening and participating, is that what is the value of SEO, and how can you actually also measure SEO in another way, a way that a metric that Andrew presented at Brighton SEO. Um, so, Andrew, I think, I mean, you brought your slide deck, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to cherry pick down there, and there's some of it we can go more into depth with. I also think that, I mean, you said you didn't get any questions at Brighton because that's the way that Brighton works. You just get down, you can hand over the mic to the next person. So please put in a question here for Andrew or I, and we will go through them when they fit into what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to make it a bit more relaxed, aren't we, than the traditional talk format at Brighton. So we're gonna go through some slides. We'll look at some questions, and I'll kind of answer them as we're going through per slide. So if you want me to share away, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Have I got control of this? Okay, brilliant. So for those of you who don't know me, who am I? I was in the police for 20 years, which is really weird because I joined at 16 under a special cadet program and then became a regular officer at 18. And during that journey, it was about age 23, 24, I think it was, I became what was called a covert police detective. Now, my job, unusually, was that I I was actually what was called a detective in covert. It's a really weird word. It's called CHIS handler. It's covert human intelligence source handler, and that was the technical term. Basically, I recruited informants, and inside the police, we used to have a large search engine. It's gone now. It's something else now. I've been gone a long time, and it was a very basic entity-based search engine. And I didn't know it at the time, but because my job was to gain intelligence and information for the police and then place it on that search engine, I had to build links manually, had to promote the content, I had to do all kinds of things. I was learning SEO by osmosis and network science, and I didn't realize that at the time until I left that department after about 8 years in it, and I went on the promotion wagon. And basically, from there on in, I started dabbling with websites, getting success. Started having some, I built websites. They failed. I built websites. They were brilliant and worked. Started working on social media, getting the following for some of the websites, and it all became pretty popular. And then I developed really bad asthma, so I left the police and because they wouldn't promote me and I wouldn't be able to go outside on the streets any longer. And I would just be basically sat behind a desk somewhere. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go away and try and become a freelance marketer, so to speak. Didn't have any agenda or plans, just wanted to swap my income from the police to have an income. And my business launched basically in 2 days. I had to replace my salary from the police, and then I've been doing that ever since. And I grew a successful small agency with a couple of staff, and and we had some great clients. I spent over £30,000 on online training over the years, and then about 2 years ago, nearly 2 years ago, I decided to go and work in house, and I went and worked for a 7-figure agency. Did that for a year. Had a team of 13 to 15, I think it was. We were churning out hundreds of thousand words of content, doing SEO for lots of clients, and then I left that role and I moved to my current role, where the challenge is, SEO is very much changing. We are a very unique agency in the fact that we're a digital PR agency first, and we're adding SEO into the service. So we already work with a lot of big brands in SEO. So and yeah, that's where I'm at now, director of JABH. I'm also the author of a book called The Value of SEO, which it's basically a collection of LinkedIn posts which help people to better articulate at the value of SEO. So it's a rants, essays, it's illustrated, which is kind of weird. But if you buy it, make sure you buy the physical version on Amazon, because it's the Kindle book has some problems with it, with some of the Kindle formats. So so that's me. The reason why we need to talk about the value of SEO really goes into this slide, is that we really do a bad job of explaining the value of SEO, because in actual fact, as we see on a daily basis, PPC gets the vast majority of the budget when it comes to marketing, and that's really bad. It doesn't work like that, and it's happened. It happens because people have chased something called ROI or ROAS, or even work, which is basically just credit on ad spend. Nobody's really taken to organic and looked at organic and said what it does for a business, how it's better than PPC, and we've not articulated that. And because we've not articulated that, we've done a really poor job of growing SEO. Even though it's a multi-billion-pound industry, which it is, we still have budget problems, and we're not funded correctly because we don't articulate it well enough. And that's the challenge for SEOs, is to better explain the value of what we do. And that's hopefully what the book does. It's hopefully what this slide deck will sort of do, and how we do it, because this problem of SEO is getting worse, not better. Because I'm just trying to click my slides. So let me go back. So I've gone forward. So organic search, basically 2015, 2023 was actually pretty easy. If anyone got involved into organic search in those days, what would basically happen is you'd have a website, you'd invest in it, you'd grow it, you'd grow the traffic, you'd grow revenue, and everyone was happy. And that's pretty much what some of the biggest brands have done. And just by the way, folks who were talking about PPC, when I talk about PPC in this format, I'm talking about paid search, not social media traffic or anything like that. So because I see some of the comments on the chat here. But so organic search, we had it great. So if you got invested between 2015 and 2023, well done. You started early, you were in SEO, you were investing everyone, and somebody listened, and thank goodness they did. Because from now on in, the problem we have is that AI is going to radically change everything. So not only can somebody take your website and really copy it virtually straight away. You create a great piece of content that's mind-blowing, your competitors can have the same piece of content virtually created in an instant. AI allows that to happen. Content is no longer the moat that it was for brilliance, because there was a cost in content. And even though people complain and say, oh no, content's great, and I read content every day, and I'm happy to talk about content and its evolution and what it should be, but the bottom line is anything you can create can and will be copied. And that's just the reality of it. Whether it ranks or not is a different thing, but the content, we've been doing it for years anyway. Everyone's been doing it manually by hiring writers to basically use phrase or surfer to copy the best of the top 20 posts and put them together in one single post, skyscrapering things. So we've been doing it. AI just helps you to do it faster. And also we've got the whole SG things going on. So some lovely kind words in the chat, by the way. Thank you. So make no mistake, AI is coming for your SEO content. That's just the reality of it. If you think I know there's some people out there that think, oh, well, I've created 1,000 pages. No one can catch up to me. Yeah, you can do. You can have AI running 1,000 pages now easily. There's people doing it. There's tools that do it. If you've got enough budget, I don't know why you'd want 1,000 pages, but some people do. So, but it doesn't honestly have to be like this. We don't have to be running around in this mad race of self-destruction. I know some SEOs are walking around like it's the apocalypse, and it doesn't have to be like that, because they're only thinking about traffic and rankings, and that's the problem we've got. Now, to change it, we've got to change how SEO looks and is valued. And at this moment in time, the lesser chart there is basically on the left is how SEO currently looks and is sold. Its benefit and time is low. It takes a long time to do it, and the benefits take a long time to happen. And that it's really the worst pitch in marketing. Who would want this? Who would actually really want a service like this as come out your marketing budget? No wonder it gets such bad publicity as a service, because the gains aren't there and PPC gets all the money. But that's not how it should look. SEO actually has incredible amounts of benefits. Benefits can appear almost instantly, no matter which client, no matter if you're a startup, day one, or if you're a top site. The benefits actually, SEO can happen crazily fast. We know that if you're an experienced SEO, but if you're a startup, SEO can fuel your business massively. And I speak to startups all the time that have done that approach. The reason that we don't do it very well is because we measure SEO incorrectly. And I'm going to talk about that at the very final bit, about how we can measure SEO differently. And to do that, we need a standardized metric that aligns SEO with marketing. And this is the problem. If anyone's ever been on a client recording call and you're sending an email out, whatever, and you show things, it's a lot of data. It's out of context. It doesn't really make much sense. It's traffic rankings. Some things are up, some things are down. There's thousands of keywords. You can't possibly have all your keywords going up. They go down. It's just a natural part of it. Green, red. We have green arrows going up, red arrows going down. If you've got more red arrows than green, it's still you feel your woes. Nobody likes those kind of reporting calls, and they don't really make any sense. And also, they're not business relevant. So we've got to get out of this idea. Google Analytics is free for a reason, because it's free. It was never designed to be the measurement of all your marketing going on. It's just a snapshot of what's going on. It's like going to the hospital and having your business connected to some of the machines. It literally says what's going on in your business over the last few days. That's it. It isn't anything more than that, yet we've used it to decide entire marketing channels and marketing success and marketing metrics and all kinds of stuff. And we should never have done that. But we've done it because it was free, and that's what everyone said do. Everyone shares traffic graphs. Everyone talks about increases in traffic and rankings, but none of it's really business context relevant. So a quick recap, and this is the bit I think we've got to get down correctly, is why someone should choose SEO. And if we don't get this right, the rest is kind of like pointless, because if we can't all get on the same sheet and same page about why SEO is so good, we'll struggle. And the truth is, this is the thing that most people can't get their head around, is SEO helps brands to grow through online nudges. And that's it. All we do is place links inside a search engine higher than they were yesterday or higher than they were previous month for the keywords that matter to a business and their customers and the people they want to serve. Or if you're a publisher, you just want all the traffic going because it's ad revenue you're after. But essentially all we do is we're the people placing the products on the shelves digitally. That's what we do. And we don't design the pages, we don't design the logos, the pages, we don't design the CRO, we don't design the UX. All that's done long before an SEO usually gets there. Maybe they can have some say towards it, but in actual, we don't decide the pricing, we don't decide how the checkout procedure works. There's so much more going on that an SEO doesn't get involved in that will make or break revenue. And yet we're obsessed with this kind of ROI thing. And it makes no sense. So what we've got here is the image here on the right is the one I think you should always focus on, is because the idea behind SEO is we help brands to get more sales. That's what they want, more leads and more sales. And the cost of SEO comparatively to that benefit is really, really low. And that's the thing. SEO, cost low, benefit high. But we actually don't promote it like that. And that's the problem. And here's how we can do it. Here's how that happens, I should say. So brands grow through two assets. They grow through something called, I'm going to go here, these two assets. Hold on, I'm struggling with my slides. Hold on. So these two assets they grow are called physical availability and mental availability. And I'm going to linger on this slide far longer than I did when I was on my talk. So the Ehrenberg Bass Institute of Marketing Science produced a book years ago called How Brands Grow, and they followed up with How Brands Grow Too, and they followed it up with Better Brand Health, I think it is, and some other books that are related to this. And the reason is they did tons of studies in marketing science over decades, and they nailed this down to a theory, and the theory is a physical and mental availability. And we'll cover that in depth in a second. But our job as SEOs really, and you see the physical availability there, is the shelf. And the mental availability side is what goes on in your memories. So if you think about it when you're in a supermarket, so you walk into a supermarket and you go down the shampoo aisle because you need some shampoo. And realistically, you don't think deeply about shampoo. Some people do, but it's very rare. You go into the shampoo aisle and you pick a shampoo. Generally, you will pick the brand that you're already aware of when you go into the search engines, the brand that you already know and you've already experienced. Now, with SEO, that can happen, but equally, we enter search through broad keywords because we're interested in shopping around, and we get exposed to brands inside the search engine. Sometimes when we go into a search engine, that's the first time we've been aware of that brand. So if brands have done a great job on the marketing, you already know about them before we get in there. And big key phrases like car insurance and things like that, we will do. If you Google car insurance, chances are you've already been exposed through TV advertising through one of the brands ranking. But for other searches, for lesser searches, that isn't the case. You're totally unaware of the brand because they've not exposed their marketing, they've not done good enough brand marketing, they've not used creative advertising or PR. So in essence, it's the search that they go in first. Now, if you're investing in PPC, this is why it's so expensive with PPC. You land on it. If you're only discovered via paid search, that's a very expensive way to advertise your business on a link click basis because you want a conversion, but in actual fact is they're just on the first part of their journey. So, and that's why SEO is so powerful, because it exposes your brand to far more people because more people click on the organics. So let's go a bit more deeper into this mental and physical availability thing. So physical availability is defined as how easily or conveniently the product or service is available in a buying situation. Now, for us, that's all about today's buyers, about capturing today's buyers who are in the market to buy right now. So what happens is when they do that is someone's writing some copy-paste chat stuff in there. It's funny. So what happens when we increase physical availability, we tend to rank for those more important PPC keywords, and that's our job, really. If you've got a brand that's investing on paid search in terms of they're spending a fortune on keywords, SEO is the thing that replaces it. Or because you make so much profit, you just occupy all of it. You occupy paid and SEO and organic, and you don't care because you're making so much profit. And some brands do that. They don't care because the profit margins are so big on what they do. They're making millions upon millions, and they don't care. Just spend money on both. We don't care. Let's just stop other brands from advertising, and we'll grab that space. But that's the thing. So our job as SEOs, physical availability, rank for those buyer-related keywords. The mental availability part is the likelihood of a brand being noticed or recognized or thought of in a buying situation. Now, in actual fact, there's probably a lot less of this than we think in SEO, but the idea is when somebody enters into marketing, they are in the market to buy. Now, in the market to buy really is physical availability, but from an organic search perspective, mental availability really, you could argue, is all about your category research. So the category research is you're thinking about dental implants or Invisalign or something like that, and you start researching best are invisible braces any good? And a brand shows up for that because it's got a great guide about Invisalign. So what then happens is they've seen that brand, they go on their webpage, they've clicked, and then a couple of days later they decide to purchase, or a couple of months later they decide to purchase. And when they go back to Invisalign dentist, they see the same brand that they've been exposed to on their category research, and like, hey, you're in with a better chance of nudging that brand towards you for make a sale, because all that is nudges. Pardon me. We're just nudging people, nothing more, nothing less. We can't control who buys from a brand. We've got no power on that. What we can do is just get the brands in the right places for the right keywords. That's our job. We're drivers of trucks. We're putting things on shelves. We're putting books on library shelves. We're putting cans on shelves in the supermarket. That's our job. It's not glamorous. It's not sexy. It's not any of those things. But it's a highly important part of commerce. And being discoverable is a highly important part of commerce. So in essence, although the search actually probably a lot of SEO crosses in between the physical and maybe less into the mental availability side, that's what we occupy. So that's our goals, what should be our driving force. So the goal of SEO should be to increase a brand's physical and mental availability through search. And that's what our job is. And if we define it at that, and we're happy with that, we can go into boardrooms and say, hey, look, we're talking in the same terms that CMOs talking, that the thousands of people that subscribe to the Ehrenberg-Bass model of marketing, which is huge in CMO land, and almost everybody sort of says these terms these days, SEOs need to be aware of them and how we actually impact those channels. Okay, now, and this is not mine, I didn't make this up. This is from the Ehrenberg-Bass Institute. But the nutshell is be easy to mind and easy to find. And that's the thing. So you want to be, when somebody ranks, somebody searches car insurance, you want to be ranking for car insurance if you sell car insurance. It's as simple as that, really. But ideally, they would have also met you. Now, before that. Now, I will say this, is it's a little bit more complicated because what happens is with keywords, buying keywords can also be research keywords. So somebody researching the category might just type in car insurance because that's their first part of their journey, but they're not ready to buy today. So, and this is where search gets really complicated because not all keywords are relevant, not all keywords matter, not all traffic matters. And we use, how should we put this? We use search in a very broad fashion. It's very unique to us. It delivers unique results. And that's the thing, what we got to get around of the case is that ROI is a really bad metric to measure it by, which is the whole point of this presentation, really. So, Byron Sharp, Professor Byron Sharp, who's you should follow, should read, very interesting character, marketing scientist. He describes search as the new shelf. And I think that's a really good way of sobering us all up because there's a terrible amount of romanticism around content that someone's going to read the ultimate guide to flip-flops and then suddenly buy your flip-flops because your ultimate guide was so good. People don't have that kind of loyalty. People buy what suits them. And they buy when they want to buy, not because you've suddenly wrote the most amazing piece of content on flip-flops or sandals or jeans. It doesn't work like that at all. So we've got to get out of that. And a lot of content writers, we're very invested in content. If you're a content writer, my argument to you would be go and deploy content analytics on your content, and you will be very upset by the amount of time people spend on your web page and how far they scroll down before leaving. So we've got to get away from this romanticism. We're not direct advertising in SEO. We're not selling a good sales email, which, the idea is you keep people reading it to the end and take action. It's a very different situation because psychologically, people are searching in different states of readiness to buy. Okay. The problem we've got with SEO, though, is we've got all that data that says about how it works, mental availability, physical availability. That's how brands grow. They grow through extra sales. That's the truth of it. More sales equals a bigger brand. The problem is we don't ever measure it this way. We measure it completely differently. And we measure it, and this is where it gets a little deeper, on something called ROI, or return on investment. And it's the biggest question going is what's going to be my ROI of SEO? Let's forecast it. And I always quite laugh at those kind of things because, like, how are you going to forecast it? This is ridiculous. You could increase your prices and market that, and your margins go up straight away, and the ROI is far vastly higher of your SEO and it's nothing to do with us. So there's so much going on in marketing. Putting ROI on us is a very, very poor way of doing anything, and also it's a terrible metric to discuss, because in actual fact, if you want to increase your ROI, you reduce your spend. So for example, let's say you're spending $3,000 on SEO, and your SEO does a bit of work, and you've spent 33 grand, 36,000 a year on your SEO. Fantastic. And the SEO can somehow say that during that period of time you achieved 50,000 in sales. Wow, 50,000 sales. The ROI is massive. You've doubled almost your money, so to speak. It's fantastic. But that's because you only spent £36,000 and only reached a certain amount of buyers. Whereas in actual fact, you could spend £150,000 and then reach £1 million in revenue. So it's this idea of you can actually reduce ROI spend and actually make ROI better. It's what happens with paid search. They exhaust one keyword bucket, go after the people that were most likely to buy, who are the most expensive clicks, and you do that and you get 10, 15 buyers, whatever, and the next you move to the next bucket and the next bucket, and you continue to optimize. But what happens is you're actually reaching fewer buyers. You're actually reaching fewer because you're going after that intent, that really high intent. You're not reaching people as they come into the category. And I appreciate this, by the way, is a harder concept to get your head around. But if you reduce reach to target those more likely to buy, you increase ROI, but you reduce sales overall. And that's the key thing, because you're only reaching a small amount of today's buyers. That's the reality of the situation. So, and this is a nice little chart that I use in terms of, you can see that if your reach decreases, your sales decrease, but your ROI increases. It's not based on data, because this whole argument about ROI is massively in the marketing world. It's mainstream talked about ROI and how it's a bad metric. Marketing scientists agree that ROI is not a great metric for marketing results because you're reducing your reach. And remember, we talked about earlier about car insurance. It's a bad example for most people, but if you're ranking organically for car insurance and you're getting thousands of visitors a day, you're reaching maybe every month, let's say you're reaching 50,000 people. It's probably a low estimate. 50,000 people you reach organically. Not all of those 50,000 people are going to buy today. They might be thinking about 3 months' time. They might be thinking about next week. They might be thinking about eight months' time. Who knows? There could be reasons why they're searching for that, and the time differences. And what happens is, if you target car insurance, you get your brand exposed to more people, and when they come back, they see you again ranked for car insurance, and it's that almost like that repeat cycle. But if you're only saying best deals for car insurance today or something like that, and it's a bad example of paid search, but what happens is you target a tiny amount of people, and if you're targeting those people when they come into the research phase because you're not organically ranked, you target a very small amount of people. Yes, you get high conversion rates, but you're not getting your brand in front of more people as they research. So ROI is a challenge. We need to get it out of our conversations and challenge those conversations about ROI. But that is difficult because you have to explain it, how it works. So what happens is, if businesses think about ROI, they make very bad decisions on incorrect data, and that leads to a lot of SEO contracts being cancelled, because this is what it looks like. They can activate PPC and they can have sales constantly, or they can activate SEO and it takes ages before you make sales and you reach the same capacity, and that could be years before you get to that level. But here's the thing. If we measure it differently and we look at SEO from a different perspective, we zoom out, suddenly SEO looks like a far more powerful channel. And that's the cool thing. And we know it is, because we know the data's there. And also, when somebody's ranked, we know that they do anything to keep their website ranked. If you go and do any search, I guarantee you, in any kind of commercial sector, the top ranking sites will be spending money on SEO because they love being ranked high because of the benefits. And they will have been ranked high for quite some time. There's nobody that spends more on SEO than a business that was on page 1 and got kicked to page 2. They're straight away on it, and they've got their checkbooks open. The reality is they get it, they've experienced the results of it, and they desperately need to get back. And we know this, for those who have worked on campaigns long enough, and you've got people ranking, but other people who aren't invested in SEO don't know the benefits. They just see this horrible, oh, I've got to spend and I don't get rewards, and how does this work? And I've got no benefits for a long period of time. So, and that's why they don't spend. So the way around this is we've got to eliminate the waste in SEO. The things of our budgets go on that are actually quite poor and don't deserve a lot of waste. So, for example, link buying is a huge component of SEO. Whether people admit it, someone said to me the other day, no one buys links anymore. Literally, it's a multi-million-dollar industry. So link buying is kind of a waste, really, because the links are usually terrible. They're usually buried as guest posts within some other websites, and they give very marginal SEO benefits and often get removed in a few months' time. That's an example of waste in a budget. Now, the link, I've got friends who sell links, and they have link selling agencies, and they'll counter this, I'm sure, but there's not really much marketing benefit in a link buried in a page, and we're not getting great value for money out of a link build like that, and link buying like that, because it doesn't have very much value. So we need to eliminate waste. All the things, we need to eliminate the content we're creating that isn't of value to the business. We need to eliminate how should I put it? We need to eliminate any activities in SEO that we can't actually directly put next to a benefit for a business. When we do this and we focus on purchasing, buying, and buyer journey and things like that, what happens is we focus on the category research. We create great quality content for category research. We create great quality content and landing pages for purchase intent, and that's where our value goes, to creating those high purchase intent keyword pages, putting effort in those, which is all where the great writing needs to be, and the category research reels to be really good, and that's the focus on it, not necessarily traffic. And this is the thing. What happens is we know that increases purchase, or certainly the likelihood we are going to get purchased. And that's the goal, by the way, to increase the likelihood that we get thought of in a buying situation. That's the whole point of this. The likelihood that we get thought of in a buying situation is what we're after. And if we can nudge, maybe we can go from a 1 in 200 chance of being purchased to a 2 in 200 chance of being purchased. And that increases the chances of being purchased by double. And what that does is that feeds into our sales. And that's all marketing is. That's all brand marketing is. We're just actually making sure we're on the shelf at the right time and we've got an opportunity. Because if we're not on the shelves in the library or the supermarket, we're actually not going to be able to have that impact and be in the chance of buying. We're not going to increase our chances of being purchased. So this is the strategy behind this. Is you do SEO activity on keywords targeting those looking into buying. That's your category research. And then SEO activity on keyword targeting those about to buy. And that translates into sales growth. And we know that because we've got clients who do it and we've seen the results and we know they're growing in millions of revenue. And what we do is we eliminate waste. There's none of these thousands of blog posts that are completely irrelevant because they don't reach the category buyers, that they're so top of funnel that they'll never go and purchase. All that kind of stuff we need to eliminate and strip out. Publishers, go after all that all you can. If you want to write a million Excel formulas and put it online, fill your boots if you're getting AdSense traffic. But in actual businesses and brands who need to make sales, we need to think far more strategically. Now, if you were to do this, put this in a nutshell, I would say there are two components to this. Is we focus on that buyer intent content, which we've just discussed, and then we focus on link earning. Now, link earning can be link building. We do it at JBH differently. We're a digital PR agency. I've built links for years. Christopher knows that. You know, we're in the same boat, and we've done all the manual outreach. And there is places for that, by the way. You know, if you're a SaaS startup, you want to be featured on those pages. I think they call it parasite SEO, by the way. Now, I think that's the fashionable term, parasite SEO, for something which was going on for years and years. That's the new term, and I heard someone say that parasite SEO is the rage. Literally, parasite SEO has been going on for as long as SEO has. It's if you're a SaaS startup or if you're a clothing line, getting featured actually into those posts which are already ranking, that's great. You know, there's an element for broken link building can be done. It's very hard these days to do that kind of link building because we're so noisy. The email box is so noisy. I believe in link earning is the best way. And you link earn through getting media mentions, do follows, no follows. And you do that by creating stuff that people link out to. You create commentary that helps people to explain the world differently and explain what's going on in the world. You lead as a business. And that's you aim to link earn through leadership. You do that plus buyer intent content, and that's the keys to success online. Now, the results, I don't know if this is going to show you or not. Okay, so this is a client of ours. I wouldn't name the client, but you can see that this is the approach that they use. This is performance SEO, and they've gone from, you can see there, last 3 months of 2022, 5 million visitors. They are now up to 13.7 million visitors, and that equates to millions in revenue. And that's literally in a year. And that's a brutal focus on link earning and also SEO for buyer intent. There is absolutely zero fluff, filler, or anything like that in their website. Now, if I'm honest with you, they have 60,000 pages. So, and 60,000 buying intent pages actually leads to quite high traffic. But there's none of that commercial guide. Now, I'm not saying that stuff isn't got its place. And in category research, it does have its place because you can connect with people and things like that. So I'm not saying don't write content and guide content and things like that. But I'm saying you have to be very careful about going after all traffic just to say you've got that graph moving upwards when a lot of that graph might be completely pointless. And I've seen that countless times. Businesses are generating revenue, but have got tons of traffic. It's tons of traffic, but it's just not relevant to them. Okay, then the general gist is you put the right fuel into your site, authority links. Now, I know something's come out from Google, so I'm more than happy to discuss that in a second about how links aren't even in the top 3 thing anymore. And you target purchase intent search. You put the right fuel into the site, target purchase intent search, you will succeed. It's not been any different than before. Now, and this places SEOs at the center of marketing because this is what we want to do. We want to be at the center of marketing and we want to be the people driving this conversation about how marketing works online because we're supposed to be the experts. If we can't be the experts of online marketing and search marketing, who is? Who is these experts? Who are they going to go to? You've got growth consultants leading conversations. You've got CMOs managing everything you could possibly imagine. We need to be the experts of our own domain. Now, what you can do, this isn't the finish of this. So I'm just going to say that if you want to download all my slides from Brighton SEO, and this is part of it, you can get these slides from this presentation, which is actually more condensed from Christopher, but you can actually go to my bio and download all my Brighton SEO slides still. They're on there. They're going to be removed literally at the end of the day. So you can do that. And because this next bit, I haven't got the slides for, but I'm going to talk openly with Christopher because this is the next bit. So I don't know, Christopher, if you can turn those slides off so we can see my face again. Is that possible? Although
yeah, sure. I'll just there we are. Yes.
Okay. So my Brighton SEO talk was all about this new SEO metric that helps drive this. Now, we've looked at the value of SEO during this whole presentation and said, it's about increasing the mental availability and the physical availability of search. We do that by focusing on the buyer intent. We do that by focusing on the category research. We don't waste budget for traffic. Traffic is a vanity metric. It doesn't always lead to profit. And if we're burning money through content, it's just to rank for a keyword, it's a pretty poor way of doing things. So this new metric, which I suggest people follow, is called share of search. Now, it's not my metric. I didn't invent it. It's actually created by two gentlemen. Well, one in particular, Les Bennett, who's the head of, he's got a really great job, and I forget the agency, Adam and Eve DVV or DBV, I forget how you pronounce it. He's known as the godfather of marketing effectiveness. And he's been a media planner, and he works with big brands and always has done, and responsible for some of the best TV ads going. And a guy called James Hankins, who works for Sage, and their marketing is high up in their marketing. And both of those two have worked on this metric as part of research for the Institute of Practitioners of Advertisers. And it's called share of search. And essentially what share of search is you take all the brand traffic for all the brands in your category, and you can make that small or big. And what happens is when you get all this category together, you do it on Google Trends, you get the total volume of brand search, and you have a percentage for the amount you've got for yourself. So your brand might have 10% of the traffic that's going there, and 20% and 30% or 1%. And you do that, and that's how you monitor it. That's share of search. Now, that's being used right now by companies. Even Netflix do that, by the way. So I was speaking to their analytics company the other day. They say they measure share of search for their TV ads successful. But share of search just works on brand search. So it's a brand proxy for brand growth, because if you're going to buy something or more likely to buy it in the future, you're more likely to search for that brand, or if you've already brought it. So interest around that brand. And it's called share of search interest, really, and that's the metric. Now, from an SEO perspective, we do need to know about share of search, and we can monitor that. I use a tool called My Telescope for our clients, but it's a great way to track brands, and you can work it out yourself. It's kind of complicated with Google Trends. It can be a bit of a pain, but that's where the big advertisers are talking about share of search. They don't talk about what we talk about. So what I've done is I've said, right, okay, let's look at this metric. What's going on in search? So not only do we have share of search, the brand stuff, we actually have share of buyer intent search. Now, buyer intent search isn't just brand related. It's brand related, but also high purchase intent keywords like, best cars under £20,000 or whatever like that. There's a buyer intent keyword volume there that you can go after as an SEO. So we haven't really got a defined term for it. I call it extra share of search, because it's extra share of buying intent search. And you've also got the brand stuff. And when you start looking at this share of search, it gives you really interesting metrics, because what they say about share of search, it's a predictive measure. And if you've got a decline of share of search, and there's a decline in interest in your brand, it's likely to mean that you're going to decline in sales in the next 6 to 12 months. It can give almost a 12-month lead in some sectors. It's not perfect, but this is a virtual cost-free metric to measure. Now, what you do is if you say, okay, well, our brand interest is going down, you can argue then for more budget, say there's brand interest. But equally, if you start to look at your buyer intent search for an SEO can actually make up for a lack of brand search, because, hey, you can say, right, okay, we've got a lack of interest in our brand, but we're actually ranking really highly for our purchase intent keywords, and we can see the traffic in Search Console was steady. We know that we might lose sales because you're not growing the brand traffic, but you're going to make sales. You need to maintain your SEO metrics. Or, for example, the client might say, okay, we haven't got enough money to spend on radio ads, TV ads, or anything like that. Then, or PR, what we're going to have to do is we're just reliant on organic search. Okay, well, Clay, put some more money on organic search. So it allows for a greater volume of conversation, because you're saying, hey, Luke, your share of search is down, your share of search up. These brands are taking clients away from you. These brands are showing up online. If you've got no share of search, then, okay, well, you're giving away business to your competitors. And if they grow, and there's a thing called the law of double jeopardy, if your competitors grow faster than you, then they become bigger than you and will likely attract more business in the future. So it's this thing about, it's SEO all geared towards the future. And so from share of search as a metric, we need to look at your brand traffic, the brand search. How is that? We also need to look at your buyer intent search, which is that extra volume of search that you can attract people for, because we know people go to search engines not necessarily looking for a particular brand. And if you've got no brand budget and you haven't reached people and they're just on their research, that's the best way to capture them already. And usually, and some companies, it doesn't make sense to spend money on TV advertising. You just haven't got the budget. I believe the biggest drivers for this, therefore, are publicity, brand PR, and digital PR, because they can measure the effectiveness of both of those things. The links can gain referral traffic. The links can help with EEAT, because they're showing your expertise or authority. Having a link with the anchor text, no follow, do follow, with according to the experts at, is that's your anchor text link, is incredibly powerful for EEAT. But we don't measure it. So share search is actually an interesting way to measure your EEAT, because what you can say is there's actually people searching for your brand. You're showing up, you're getting more features. So share search is the metric that I unveiled. And if we start measuring, yes, give people traffic rankings. No one's saying don't do those things. They're very granular stuff. But actually, on a top level, if you walk into the boardroom and say, hey, Luke, our buyer intent search is through the roof, your brand search is reducing the overall traffic to your site. You're actually reducing in brand search, reducing interest. You need to go fix that, because we know that reducing in brand search will actually reduce the likelihood that you're going to make sales. And there's a lot of sense for that, by the way, because as we talked about when you walk into the supermarket, with this sort of to segue off and finish off before we ask questions, when you walk into a supermarket, we ignore most of the brands we don't know, because we pick the brands we know because they've done a ton of advertising. So it's the same with search engines. If you've done publicity, PR, brand marketing, creative advertising, video advertising, whatever you want to call it, if you've done that and then somebody goes for whatever sector, lands on the search engines to search, and then your brand shows up, you've got a greater likelihood of being purchased. I'll give a very B2B example, because
can I just break in? I mean, this is so good, Andrew.
Yeah.
I'm really taking a lot of mental notes here. I'm sure
Nice.
that the rest is doing. Regarding the buyer intent, I mean, for many who maybe don't have so many brand searches and saying, okay, we want to attack the buyer intent. Where do you do the cutoff between those soft blog inspirational content and the buyer intent keywords? I mean, where's the cutoff?
Okay, so this is actually, I put a post out similar to this today. So people go to search engines with emotional needs. We know that. And Kantar's need scope has actually identified 6 of them. And I very, very struggle to remember them. And Google calls this the messy middle, by the way. So it's the messy middle. There's all this is out there, by the way. All this is research on Google. There's tons of actual scientific research on how search works and what happens and how customers buy. So basically, these 6 need states, there's thrill me, impress me, educate me, help me, reassure me, and I can't remember the last one, but these need states are part of Kantar's need scope in terms of these are the emotional need states of your customers. So that's a great place to start, because if someone's got an emotional need state, how can you fulfill it? So, for example, it might be somebody's looking for thrill me, and you are a holiday website. You're TUI, for example. Your TUI, big holiday company, someone's looking to thrill me. It makes great sense for you then to say best city, to write content, a big 100 best city locations for romantic getaways or something like that. That makes sense, because someone's looking to be thrilled. You're exposing their brand. You've actually got buyer links that they could actually go and check out on their stuff. And they probably aren't doing that. They're probably leaving it to all the publications to do. But that would make a great piece of content for thrill me, because people are looking to be excited. Now, let's say you're a let's say you're a medical company and sell cosmetic procedures, and your reassure me might be you create a guide around what happens when you're undergoing jaw surgery. I went through jaw surgery, so this is very much on point. So you might create your practice, your private practice might create a guide around the effects of jaw surgery, because I went with the NHS, but aside from that, if I was a private one, I'd be looking to see who would be treating me best. And it makes sense that I'm looking for reassurance. So even though right there and then I'm not necessarily buying, but I land on search XYZ, the Harley Street Medical Clinic for jaw surgery, the jaw surgery clinic, I read their fantastic post, I'm suddenly exposed to their brand. Now, I walk away because I'm not sure about buying. But what happens then is a bit later on, I come back and I Google jaw surgery, and sure enough, I find a jaw surgery clinic. And I think, oh yeah, I remember them, because there's a memory impact, because I spent an hour reading their post. And that's the thing. So it might be that your jaw surgery knowledge hub, 80% of it doesn't get any traffic. The actual lead in is one piece that gets 10 visitors a month. But that 10 visitors a month, what happens is those 10 visitors spend an awful lot of time on your site, and that's a value to them. So the thing what you've got to do is, what value are we creating? Is it better to have 100 visitors that stay 10 minutes and read loads of content, or is it better to have 1,000 visitors? Now, I'd argue that read a bit and leave. So I think what we've got to get in the perspective of is, from SEOs, is try and convince marketing managers, say, let's create a great website for our clients regardless of traffic. Because SG is going to come along, it's going to wipe out loads of traffic. We know that, or we think that, we're worried about it. Let's get in the business of creating websites that meet the emotional needs or the emotional search needs of our consumers. And yes, some of that will gain traffic, some of that will not gain traffic, but it will be of benefit. And we've got actually a business case to reward it, because we can actually use social media or anything like that to promote those business cases. I think what you do is, if you're ever deploying any kind of content and it's based just on traffic values, the idea that somebody is going to read this and somehow they will join our email list, things like that, it's a tactic. I think it's a tactic which I think you have to put through scrutiny. As the cost of doing this content, could we be doing something else that's more business centric and brand centric? Is this content going to lead to sales? We should be able to track backwards and say yes, because it's doing this. If we're doing it because we're growing our email list, yeah, okay, that's a logical thing. Okay, you need a good email offering, you need a good marketing plan, and that, by the way, could be a business goal, a marketing goal. You can say, right, we're going after all the traffic because we just want to get everybody, and we're going to activate them because email marketing is our thing. Go after every bit of traffic in this sector. I don't care what it is. Our goal is email list, but that's a business marketing strategy, and that might be perfectly valid. But for most brands who want sales, it's going to be about customer centric and meeting those emotional search needs. So you've got to justify it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, a lot of this talk is also about, I mean, the value of SEO, spreading the word internally, how we're gonna see SEO, and also, how can we bring it up to the boardroom? And at Brighton on the first day there, I actually saw talk about the CEO's confidence in the CMO. I mean, that was just the weakest of them all. I mean, maybe that's also part of the issue here, that CMOs, they are pretty they're sacked quite often, right? I mean,
they
they
are
need
sacked,
to show results right away, and maybe they need to be they need to get a better understanding of SEO, what it actually is, because as you say, a lot of people think it's a one-to-one with PPC, and one can replace the other, and this is just totally wrong. I think I hope that's the message that people get here as well.
It is. So I presented it. So, for example, let's just say you come in for a boardroom, and don't get me wrong, it's tough. These conversations are tough. CMO's tenure, I think, is about 18 months at most. I think that's the average tenure, 18 months. So there's no real incentive for a CMO to come in and make alternative decisions. No. Plus, we've got every other marketing channel doing against every other marketing channel, trying to win budget. The thing is, and this is where we've got it wrong, is marketing budgets are about turnover link, and SEO is actually an investment in the business to increase the turnover. So let's say your CMO gives you, or your CFO gives you 10% of the marketing budget. So you've got £100,000. You're a small business, you've got £100,000 in the marketing business, and for some that's like a huge budget, So the £100,000, well, you can't just go and drop like all that on SEO, because you've got to grow turnover and there's other things. So everyone's budget is finite and resourced. It's just a case of using it sensibly. Now, what does happen is somebody says, well, I've got £100,000 budget, let's shove it all into paid search. Great. What happens is you reach a certain amount of sales, and you reach that point, that's it. So unless you get more marketing budget because your sales have increased and the business turnover has increased, then you can't invest in things like SEO, because you've leveraged paid search to death. But what you can do is maybe in the beginning put a bit less on paid search and a bit more on SEO and a bit on brand, and you do this split and how it works and see it. Or you negotiate with your CFO. Any CMO should have a longer plan, like a 5-year plan anyway, or a 3-year plan. And it should be, we should have the growth targets. Year 1, we're going to get to this because this is how we're going to do it. Year 2, we're going to activate SEO, but we won't see the results for year 3. So in actual fact, our marketing budget might stay the same. Year 1, we have an increase to fund the SEO, and obviously that's it. And then the results don't come in. So we might have a fixed marketing budget for year 2 and 3. And then year 4, we actually increase that. And you can have tangible conversations. Now, that's very broad. But in terms of if you're going to use SEO, it has to be properly funded. But equally so, It's you can't just rely on paid search, which is called physical availability. You can't just rely on that because you won't reach enough people. And if your ad costs go up, you get your margins squeezed. Your margins are actually squeezed. So what we're seeing at the moment, by the way, is businesses in a lot of pain who've relied on paid search because inflation costs are eating into the business costs. And very, very often, paid search gives you credit for things you would have got anyway. So the sale would have always come to you. It just didn't come to you. You've got last click attribution and things like that. But because you've reached fewer people and it's more expensive to reach them, and what ends up happening is the sales go down or the profit goes down in the business. And businesses want profit. More sales equals more profit, and that's what you've got to reach is more people. And that's the whole point of it. And we've got to get better at explaining this.
Yeah, I think this talk is a great step ahead. I really like the idea about thinking about it as a physical availability and the mental availability. I think Andrew, let's take some questions if there are any out here. I mean, we can just pick and choose here. Let's see if there's something. Did you see anything exciting there?
I saw some earlier on. There was some.
If I just scroll down here, maybe we can just bring up the question.
I'm going down here. Replay links. I think there was some originally. So if anyone's got a question, by the way, if people are still on, let's throw a question out there. Some people are using some chat GPTs. We've got
to auto generate comments. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't love it. Of course, slides will be shared afterwards, so you can get them via this barcode from before. The video will be up after.
Okay, should we just check? Should we do this link thing, by the way? Because that's just come out, some new thing. Let's just cover that very quickly. So, yes. So I've got some questions now coming in. So Google, someone from Google, it's Gary, I can never pronounce his last name very well, has come out recently and said that links aren't even in the top 3 factors. And people are surprised at that. People are saying, links doesn't matter. And I even heard one SEO saying, digital links have to be closer to your site and things like that. That's not the way it works. Google is a semantic-based search engine. It's trying to figure out what you do. It can read text. It can understand what your business is. It scans the pages on the webs. Links are all about discovery. And in terms of when people saying is it manic, links can be manipulated. They give a very biased view of the world. So what we've got to get in this habit of, we've been very much link volume. Everyone's link volume. What we've not been very good at is promoting businesses as real businesses, because everyone just wants to win the easy stuff. So you've got, as a business, you've got to focus on that EEAT. And one of those things is going to be links, because by a natural process of focusing on EEAT, you will build no follow links, do follow links, and media mentions. What he's sort of saying is that links aren't even in the top 3. Yeah, of course. If you're going to go and buy links, it's not necessarily going to matter. There's loads more involved in there. If you've not got the best content, you're not going to rank. If you've not got establishing your EEAT and you in helping Google to figure out what your business is and what you do and why you should be thought of. So that's the goal. We do podcasts and things like that. It's a big industry now that wasn't even a thing 10 years ago. And podcast is a huge part of the internet. People on social media talking about your business and your brand and stuff, it's all parts of that ecosphere. So yes, I agree with him in terms of links themselves are not the metric you should be measuring it by. You should be measuring about the value that link brings to your business in some way or other. So, and every link brings value somehow if it's a good link. Good links are good links. We've got to stop getting out this good link is just because it's an authority site or it's got a certain score. But we've got some other questions.
Let's take this. I can just show one of the questions here. If SEO takes longer to kick in, it's super hard to claim your effect, since from the start there might have been TV commercials, marketing stuff, etc. How do you claim your share of the pie?
You don't claim a share of the pie. And that's the truth of it. You're not there to claim a share of the pie. You're there to work with all the other channels. Marketing needs to be successful, not channel successful. This channel versus channel thing is the thing that gets budgets spent in the wrong places. I love businesses that spend on TV ads because their SEO is far, far easier. What your job is really there as an SEO is to grow that buyer intent search and that share of search. And you can say that, hey, Luke, we've grown the buyer intent search because we're doing lots of things, and those lots of things are a continuous process. So don't we don't think of SEO as ever a non-stop process. Once you're on it, you're on it. And okay, it needs to be, a lot of SEO can now be PR focused, because brand PR and digital PR build links and things. And if you're ranked, your job is to maintain those rankings, to keep your content updated to things like that, and then look at what's declining. So in actual fact, is once you're ranked, you're very much about defending the rankings. So that's the key. Are we going to cut off at an hour, by the way, Christopher? We've got a little bit longer.
I don't know. I've never tried it.
If not, we could be seconds away from saying try to everybody. So.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see if this. But that's.
No, we're past it. We're still on.
Andrew. I mean, the PR budget. I mean, sometimes the PR and marketing budgets are not the same. Can you use a PR project for link building?
Of course, that's what we do. That's what our old agency. We're very unique as an SEO agency, JBH, because we've got a small SEO department, which we're growing lean, and we've got a huge digital PR department and a PR. We can do brand PR, we can do link building digital PR. We're doing that, and that's the difference. And we can access that. We can drive that from our SEO budgets. So that's the thing. We can justify that from an SEO spend. That's the cool thing about SEO now, is we can actually say we want PR.
Yeah, exactly. So we have you touched upon this topic before about everybody can just steal everybody's content with the AI. So can you say a little bit more about that? That's a thing. I don't know if that's a very broad question, but
that's it really. So
where do you see it going? I mean, I just did a hobby website. Can people go in and just clone that website tomorrow and?
In reality, they could. They could get your pages. They can build, and even though some people can do this now, I mean, it's a bit more tech savvy. But there are people there are tools now where you just put all your list of keywords in, and it creates thousands of pages automatically and publishes them to WordPress. In that case, and that itself becomes a very big knowledge site. There's a lot. All of a sudden, you've launched a huge big website that actually might be better than other websites based on the economies of scale, because you've got all these content. What I think is, you can only optimize content so much, but I also think that we're throwing original thought leadership content under the bus, that what people want. I don't read SEO content unless I've got a problem that needs solving by the SEO by going online and reading. And I'll say this to you: if you've ever had a legal problem, your whole version of search. I had a family legal issue that we had to sort out, and it was quite urgent. And I was literally converting off online content that was buyer intent, but also I was converting in seconds. And your whole version of search changes, because in actual fact is you're actually just looking for somebody who can give you a little bit of a expertise, and then you can convert very quickly off that. So I'm a big believer it's the who that matters most, the who behind the content, who's writing it, not how, and that will help with rankings. But I also think for a lot of businesses, we need writers to come in and create original thought leadership pieces of content which lead conversations, which requires insight and expertise that isn't available on search engines. So we've got to create that. So if I was suggest, we do it, and I do it all the time, and if I was a business, I would be honestly saying, as part of your marketing budget, employ a writer. But that writer needs to be embedded in your business. And that might sting freelancers a little bit, because it's very hard for freelancers to, you need to be in that business, like that's a single employee. And that employee should be just charged with creating the best quality content, not for search, and whatever that looks like. And that is the key for them. And I think that's perfectly great. And I actually think that's going to probably help with SEO, because you're creating content on the website that's different, unique, and you promote that the old-fashioned ways. You send it out to people. There's a whole world of that. I read non-search content on a regular basis. I read books that you can't get on a search engine. That tells us there's an interest in new content, new ideas that's not search related. So I think create content for search, create content for your customers. That makes perfect sense. But don't abandon the fact that we can market ourselves, and original content is exactly a form of marketing, and we shouldn't abandon that.
Great. I think, Andrew, we just continue, but I think we're just going to cut it off for now. Maybe another day. So
no worries. Yeah, I've had fun. Thank you, Christopher. It's been great.
Anyway, so I hope everybody got something out of this. I mean, the idea from the outset is to really increase the value of SEO in this talk. I really think you did a great job, Andrew, And the last thing was actually to get a new SEO metric, which is brand share or maybe or the buyer intent share, instead of just looking at traffic or looking at some other vanity metric. So I hope that was the second thing that you got from it. And if somebody's out there still have questions, maybe just write them in the thread, and we can answer them after the show.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I mean, this is a big subject, by the way, folks. We've been on for an hour, and we're talking about completely reinventing how SEO is spoken about. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take years. But if we don't start the conversations, and we need days to really unpack this, if we don't start these conversations about it, it will never have these conversations, and we'll be constantly chasing budget. So I urge everybody to engage in not how to do SEO, because that's exactly what 99% of the content is out there, but change it and look at why you should do SEO.
Yeah.
And if we start having those conversations about the why, not the how, then the how will get funded. Yeah. So that's what we want.
Yeah, it takes some nudging, Andrew, right?
It does. It does.
Okay, I'm gonna end it here. If you could just stay on, Andrew, and we'll say bye to the rest of you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.